books. I remember the first time I read the Tron trilogy from Timothy Zahn. I remember that having my mind blown away. It was like this was a Star Wars, but to a whole new level. Of course, it's not. Those books are not perfect, but they are so much better than anything that came out since, in my at least in my opinion, that I don't know. I always feel like I have a lot of um, Star Wars games, board games, and video games and computer games, and I always feel like, well, when is Tron coming? I mean, for Star Wars, the X-wing. I made a pay stop of Tron, and I had campaigns made for his based on his campaigns. Of course, they had to be altered considerably because uh, Admiral Tron is a Grand Admiral. He's more into big ships than small ships. But anyway, I always feel like this was such a great story, and Tron was such a great villain, a different kind, a fresh kind of villain. And I remember also uh, when Disney uh, decided to make everything that we already knew legends. He was the thing from the expanded universe that I felt was most unfortunate to lose. And suddenly realized I was watching Star Wars Rebels. I'm not that much of a big fan of Star Wars today. Uh, I mean, I am a fan of the classic trilogy, the old trilogy, the original trilogy. But the prequels, they were not that bad as people say. But the new Star Wars, The Force Awakens, felt really flat to me. I mean, not only because it's basically episode 4 with some new stuff here and there, and then Mary Sue stuff, all of these things that people that I see around the internet. Uh, then they are. I remember when I watched episode 1 from the prequels, and everybody thought it was amazing because it was so good. And Darth Maul was the thing, and nowadays the only thing we talk is Jar Jar Binks. So I don't know. I don't know where Star Wars is going from here. But the thing from this new movie that uh, I don't know, that felt most unfortunate. I don't know, that I dislike the most is the way the old characters have grown old. Not because they have grown old, but I mean, I always thought about that Luke Skywalker will be still kicking ass somewhere, and that Han Solo and Leia would still be together. They were such a perfect couple. And I know there is divorce in the world, but come on, my grandparents, they were married for 50 years, and after my grandmother died, uh, my 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 grandmother died. My grandfather spent the last 8 9 years of his life talking about how much he loved her and how much he cared for her. And I know, sure, our the world we have built is such a huge mistake. Sometimes it seems like everybody's getting divorced and the life of everybody's crap. But I don't know. I have this foolish idea of heroes. I mean, heroes, grand heroes, becoming legends and becoming and having fulfilling lives. And I always thought about that. I don't know, like, why why do they have only one child? I mean, why? And Luke Skywalker, isn't he supposed to be training a whole academy? And now, I don't know, it's everything gone. I mean, and the Empire is back, but I don't know, it all after like 30 years? At least the Tron trilogy happens some 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years after the first Star Wars. So, well, it's this is getting a bit long, but that you get the drill. I was watching Star Wars Rebels, and and there is a new Grand Admiral Thrawn there, and I cannot stop comparing. We've seen just a little of this new Grand Admiral, but the fact that the Star Wars Rebels happens before Episode 4 and now he's already a Grand Admiral leads you to think that he's either going to die in Rebels or that for some reason he's not around anymore after Episode 4 because you never hear about him. Uh, there is no mention of him in the movies, in the books, in the new books. I read most of them of the new books. I don't like any of them. And suddenly there was this character we thought could be Tron, but not, he's actually Gaius Rex, and I don't know. Something's not right. Rex. I just remember the new Secretary of State of the United States is a Rex, right? But anyway, so I thought, well, I'm probably never going to see the Grand Admiral I grew up with in in any of the in any expansion. I mean, if they decide to do something, it's going to be based on Disney's version of the character, and I'm not sure it's going to a place I like. I mean, I'm not sure I'll ever witness the brilliancy of this character of the original Tron trilogy again. So I decided to make what I like to do. I enjoy doing print and plays, and I enjoy making fan-made expansions. I keep them mostly to myself, but this time my girlfriend actually encouraged me and said, "Well, you should share it with the world." And then I have other friends saying, "Well, yeah, we like this version you have created, even better than the original game." I'm not claiming my version is better, just to be clear. I'm just going to tell you that this version is more wargaming like. If you enjoy war games and you want more fights and confronts, this time around there is no running until the game ends. If you decide to play my variant, my expansion, my fan-made expansion, there will be fight, there will be blood, you know. So without further ado, let me guide you through it. If you decide to give it a try, I have made 3 videos already. They are quite long. I don't intend this to be that long, but if the first video is about me doing the printing and cutting stuff and all. The second video is a setup. It's a video. It's an extended setup where I talk mostly what was behind every change and all. The third video is a complete round, also with extended commentaries and some mistakes. Actually, not mistakes, but the thing is, I'm making and we are still balancing it out. And even after this last video, we have played again and again and again. It was 3 matches, and we decided there was some things we had to add to the game, to it. So I'm thanking my girlfriend, my brother, um, and well, that's it. I'm going to give you an overall overview and correct some, not correct anything, but just tell you what were this new stuff, what was this new stuff, and that's it. You will notice the birds. My table is a mess. With because I just had a match. We were playing, and this most of the stuff is still where it was at the end of the game, and you will notice that also that there aren't many units on the board, and that's mostly because they are in this pile here, and this pile right here. You'll see there was some things in the queue, but not much. And this is the last. I have printed this board. It's on Board Game Geek. It's not my doing, but you will notice that it was a last fight, the last combat, and Tron was commanding it. This figure is also not my doing. I just got him from a user, a Board Game Geek user. I always forget his name, but I always credit him somehow. But most of the paste ups, like Mara Jade, this one I have made myself, and this one I have made myself, and all of those I made myself. But well, I have already spoken about it in others videos. So what's new about it? First stuff is you begin with 6 starting characters, and they are not the ones you start in the base game. You see here, these are the Imperial ones. You see there is Gilad Palion over there, Yars Kubaut. If you have read the books, you know who they are. There are now these birds here, auxiliary birds, and you will have now up to 9 leaders, and you will get them earlier than you get them on the original board. And now there is this thing here. This is the leader's gate, a leader's reserve, and from the leader's reserve it's going to go to your leader pool. Why is that? It's that now there are mechanics for you to change your leaders from this board to this board. You will send a leader from, let's say you're playing with Mara Jade, or I don't know, Gina Shawn. Here you have Gina Shawn. This one is also not my paste up, Mara Jade is. But you send here, you let's say you want you don't want Heir anymore, and you really need Mon Mothma. So you just send Heir to the leader's gate, and let's suppose Mon Mothma was here already at the leader's reserve. You will get Mon Mothma. The downside to it is that now Gina Shawn must first go from the leader gate to the leader's reserve to be able, and then you'll be able to recruit her again to the leader pool. The other reason is that now there are leaders that are going to die, and it may happen even that you will end up the game with less than 9 leaders, or that at some moments in the game you have less than 9 leaders. It hasn't happened much in our games, actually, because you have such a surplus of characters here, but you won't have them all in all games. So so let's say first that General Recon was killed in battle or in a mission. He's going to be sent here to the heroes resting place, and now the character will be able to recruit one leader from the leader's reserve during the refresh phase. There is a rule book if you're interested in knowing more about this mechanic here, and there is also the extended setup video and the round videos if you want to know more about it. The Imperials also have one here. The reason this look is here is that he's Luke's clone. If you have read the books, you will remember there he has a mad clone. The Empire made a mad clone of him, and he's obviously not as strong as Luke Skywalker Jedi that starts the Rebel player begins with this guy here. And the Imperial player have this guy at the leader's reserve. Overall, the Empire has worse leadership than the Rebels, but he also has Tron and these guys here. This is a new board that and these are the Admiralty tokens, and Tron has some amazing abilities he can muster. He can use, he can do a lot of stuff just by spending these Admiralty tokens. There is a limit of 6 in this board. Once he uses this any of those, he can, for instance, pull a leader from the board. Like, let's imagine, I don't know, there is Moff Judgerhood here. He may use an Admiralty token to remove him from the board and send him to the queue. And from this place here, thus freeing up this space here. So if there was like an Imperial Star Destroyer, he could activate these units again. Well, this means, yes, that units are going to move more in this version, but there is a trick to it, because now, as I told you before, leaders may be killed. So, and that's how it goes. Let's say that the Imperial player just activated Moff Judgerhood to move from Tatooine to Rhodia. Now, the Rebel player may send, like, I don't know, Mara Jade here to, let's suppose it was neutral, and Mara Jade was just sent here to make a mission here in this planet here. So now they will roll dice, and as usual, as you do in the base game, and the loser, the one that loses this confront, is going to be laid down on the board. Now, if the Imperial player decides to use the Grand Admiral's abilities to remove this character from the board, as I just did moments before, he still may do it, but instead of sending the leader to the queue here. He's going to send him to the dead pawns, and now he's dead. So you will still think twice between killing your leaders, because it may take a while for you to acquire new leaders, and you will have less leaders on the board, and sometimes they are really valuable, like Colonel Yularen. I mean, you don't have any other character with 3 of those, because Emperor Palpatine is not in the game, and nor is Vader. I have created a variant for adding them, but they are it's harder to place them, to justify their presence thematically and mechanically. It's hard. They are harder to balance because they are really strong characters, and the Empire has already a lot of things going on. And lastly, there is this board here. You will notice this board has 2 new systems. They are Imperial systems, and that's where the Empire is coming. The Empire begins weaker in the main board right now. He is stronger here. So you have these 2 loyal systems, and here is the space destined to his 3 main task forces. So from this space here, he may invade either Hoth and or Utapau. And from this here, he can go to Ryloth or Nal-Hotah, and then from Mon Calamari or Dantooine. The objectives are different as well, because now the Imperial player must take not only the Rebel base but Coruscant as well, or he may take just one of them and capture or kill or anything with Luke Skywalker. The Rebel player has some options to have. He has he or she. They have to either kill the Grand Admiral, or send or sabotage Wayland and Bill Brinky, or place or conquer them. That means having no units, just Rebel units on the systems. If the Rebel player has units on both systems and the Empire hasn't, he wins the game. If he has one conquered system and a sabotage marker on the other, he wins the game. Both systems having sabotage markers won't do it. But if the Rebel player wins this, has conquered one of those systems and has already destroyed the Chimera. Let me show. Yeah, this is the Chimera here. This ship here is the Chimera. It's not a regular Star Destroyer. It has the same stats as a Super Star Destroyer. And if the Chimera is destroyed, the Rebel, and he has conquered one of those 2 systems, the Rebel player wins. So there's a lot of things going on in this expansion. It's so much. I intended to make a short video, and this one is already too long. There is these cards here that now have a different. They have new text to them, and initially they were just 2 of them that were like this. But as we played, we just we just noticed that something was lacking. So we had to add text to them, to all of those 4 cards that are the starting that the rebel player has at the start of the game, and also stolen plans and base defenses. The rebel player also begins with one hidden fleet card, so as to facilitate. Oh, there is another difference. Uh, there is usually a limit of 2 units that each player can place on the board when building units bringing units from the queue, the queue here on this space here. But now the rebel player can, I don't know, he can place 4 units instead of 2. This is meant to compensate for the new improved mobility the Imperial player has. So now the rebel player can have this new trick as well. There is also a new rule we have added, that is the Kamikaze rule, where you take just one of those, where the rebel transport before he had no way of causing damage. Now the rebel player may decide to destroy this unit, to roll 2 dice, and any crossed lightsabers result is also blank. So for instance, this is a red hit. Let's imagine that instead of a blank, this result here would be a blank when you decide to do that. But it's interesting because now the rebel player may decide to blow one of those guys, and they are not useless in combat anymore. There is also another rule we have just added, that the rebel player may use one of these results right here to explode this unit earlier, because the way we were doing it, and we are still doing it, is that first the rebel player must block damage, and if this unit is still alive after the Imperial player has assigned damage, and the rebel player has blocked damage, then he gets to blow himself up, making a kamikaze attack. And the way we ruled it was that you would remove 1 die for each damage that this unit had. So, for instance, in this case, he would roll just 1 die, like this. If he had 2 damage instead, he would roll no die when it was at the end of combat. So now we have, it's still like this, but if the rebel player has rolled 1 die like this, he can, instead of using a card or drawing a card, he can just remove this dice and roll 2 dice, regardless of how much damage this unit here has caused. Same goes for the for both of these units here. The rebel player may decide to blow them after they have received damage, but he cannot use a result like this to make them blow earlier. So if the Empire player decides to assign 3 damage to this unit, it's going to roll no dice. If the rebel player wouldn't have the ability to explode it and try to cause damage. So that's it. It's all really explained in the rule book, and well, this got obviously longer than I would have liked it, but I don't know. There's just so much going on, and I'm not Tom Vassell. I cannot do his magic. So that's it. Just one last tip before I make my final considerations. And in this new, in this expansion, I have suggested for players to, if they decide to implement it in full and use the Kamikaze, the Kamikaze rules, you know, if for blowing these guys up and causing damage, and this one as well. I suggest that players follow a stricter combat round, more with more phases, or more subdivided. So, and there's an easy way to do this, and it's this. You will be in, so there are a lot of huge fights in this variant, in this expansion. I've had more than one in almost every game. So you will be throwing a lot of dice. So let's say it has happened that one player had to throw, I don't know, 8 dice, 8 red dice. So you throw your dice, and that's like this, right? And well, let's assume you use this one to take a card. So what I recommend you to do is you just get this one here and this one here. So this means you have one red hit, and now you get one white hit. This white hit means you can hit anyone. So then you throw, it was 8 dice, and let's assume, I don't know, 8 dice, right? So you throw 5 dice, now you throw 3 more, and let's see, something like you had just another one, and let's suppose you used this one to get a critical hit. So a critical hit is 2, and this one here is another one. So like this, right? And now you throw your black dice, and you apply to this one. When the order I suggest is first the Empire player assigns damage using cards and etc. Then the Rebel player blocks damage, so you will know if this unit here has sustained, if it has received any damage. Then it's the Rebel player time to assign damage, and that will include the Kamikaze damage you from the dice you just rolled. And finally, the Empire blocks damage. So that's it. It's I thought it was worthwhile to. It was worth of your time to know. That's how we do. It's really easier to administrate the round this way. And my explanation became longer than it should. I am going to try to make another video, a short overview, but I'm not going to delete this one, so I'm going to upload it as well. But there's so much going on in this Fanmade expansion. I have this urge to talk about it all, and it's just so much fun. I really hope people out there decide to try it sometime. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, if you like the idea of me posting more videos and more fan-made expansions and print and plays and share it with the world, just, I don't know, leave a comment, subscribe to this channel, and well, that's basically it. Thank you once again, and to the next video.